In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an amazing looking website with WordPress in just 9 simple steps. Plus, I'm even going to include a fully customizable template to download for free, so you can follow along with this tutorial and get your very own website up and running in no time. What's going on, guys? Levi here with Creator Pro Website, teaching you how to make a website and how to make money from those sites. Now, I made this tutorial with the absolute beginner in mind, so if you don't know what you're doing, don't worry. I'm going to stand by you and walk through this tutorial step by step. We're going to be using a super easy to use drag and drop page builder plugin called Elementor, which allows you to effortlessly customize your website without having to know how to code or have any previous web design experience. Here's everything we're going to be covering in this video. I'm going to show you how to get your domain name and web hosting, how to install WordPress, how to download and install my template, and how to customize your website to your liking, how to create your own navigation menu as well as a header and footer. I'm even going to show you how to create your very own logo for free without having to download any software. We'll also be covering how to make your website mobile responsive for mobile devices, tablets, and desktop computers, so that no matter how big the screen size, your website will always look absolutely perfect. Especially in this day and age when everyone is out there using their phones to search the internet. At the very end of this video, I'm going to show you guys how to expand on the website you just built, so stay tuned. So that's an overview of everything we're going to cover, so if you're ready, let's get started. Step number 1 is to get your own domain name and web hosting. A domain name is just the address to your website. It's what people will enter into the search bar when they're looking for your site. So something like yourwebsite.com. And web hosting is just renting space on a server somewhere that's connected to the internet so that you can store all of your media and files on that website. These hosting companies have buildings full of these servers, and they also offer you 24/7 support in case anything happens to your website, which is a huge plus. If you want to own your own website and have a custom domain name for it, then you have to purchase your own web hosting, which I'm going to show you guys how to do in this video. And I'm also going to give you a massive discount for it as well. Now, some of you are going to ask, what about a free website? And my answer for you is simple. Yes, you can get a free website, but it comes with a lot of limitations. Like, you won't own your domain name. It'll be something like yourwebsite.wix.com or .squarespace.com or whoever's hosting the website. It could even be a random string of numbers and letters that you don't even get to choose. You also can't upload new themes in order to customize the site exactly the way that you want. You also can't upload plugins to increase the functionality of your website. You can't monetize your website with ads in order to make money from it. Your website could also be deleted at any time because you don't technically own it. So for these reasons, I recommend web hosting because it places you in control. So in order to get your own domain name and hosting, just click on the very first link in the description or go to createaprowebsite.com/hosting, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this. By clicking on my affiliate link, which I receive a commission from, you'll be receiving that massive discount on your web hosting plan, which can save you a lot of money. So I strongly recommend it. All right, so all you have to do on this page is click on Buy Now, and it's going to drop you down to the 3 different hosting plans that HostGator provides. So we've got the Hatchling plan, the Baby plan, and the Business plan. And I only really recommend the Baby plan and the Business plan only after your business starts to take off and make money. Of course, if that's what you're trying to do with it, just because they are a little bit more expensive, but they also offer everything else. If this is just your first website and you're just getting started, I would recommend the Hatchling plan, which is also the one that I'm going to go with for this video, and click on Buy Now. All right, now this is the part where you get to choose your very own custom domain name right here. Now, if you already have your own domain name, you can just click on this tab right here and then follow along with the steps. But I am actually going to register my very own new one. So I'm going to go ahead and type in whatever I want, and then click outside of the search bar. Now, when the search bar highlights green, that's when I know that my domain name is available. And so you can see Lamborghini Austin, and CAPW is just create a pro website, because I want to put that in there. .com is available, and it's free for 1 year. And so that's kind of cool. You also get that little bit as a deal. And then you can also change between .com to .online, .site, .net if you want to, or .org. But I usually stick to a .com because it's the most professional looking, and it's also the most common thing that people usually search for when they're looking for a website. So I would try and go with a .com if you can. The same option is down here as well. You can see I could check this box for .site or .club and then, change it from here. All right, so now that we have our domain name ready to go, I'm going to scroll on down. And before we get to number 2, we still have this thing called domain privacy protection. Now, this is a really important step. I always leave this box checked right here, but of course, if you don't want to opt in for the $14.95 billed annually, you don't have to. You can just uncheck this box, and now you saved the $14.95 per year. But what domain privacy protection does is it protects your personal information from telemarketers and solicitors who are going to try and call you on a daily basis to offer you different services for your website. I personally always leave this checked because I can't stand getting spam calls. But that, of course, is up to you. So let's move on to step number 2, which is to choose a hosting plan. So you can change the package type right here, which obviously we had before. So it's the Hatchling, the Baby, and the Business plan. They give you another chance to change it right here, but I'm going to stick to the Hatchling plan. And then over here on the right-hand side, this is also kind of an important step. This is our billing cycle. And so you can choose how often you want to be billed, or your cycle. So you can choose to be billed monthly, so every 1 month. And then you can also choose to be billed every 36 months, or 12 months, or whatever you choose. One thing that's important to keep in mind is you're going to be paying for however many months you select up front. So if I choose 1 month, I'm only going to be paying $29 right now because I'm paying for the 1 month up front. Now, if I choose 36 months, I am going to be billed once every 36 months, but I'm paying for all of this upfront right now. And so if I scroll on down, you'll see it gets a lot more expensive. So depending on how long you want to commit to your hosting plan, you can choose your different months, but I just wanted to let you guys know that it is charged up front. Another thing you could do is you can realize that your domain registration, which we are selecting up here, is for 1 year. So if you want, you could also have your hosting plan, which is different than your domain registration. You can have your hosting plan set for 12 months as well. So that way every year you're billed for both your hosting plan and your registration. But again, that's completely up to you. I'm going to choose the 1 month for right now. All right, so now on to number 3, which is to create your HostGator account. And so this is really simple. You're just creating an account with HostGator.com. And so you just put in your email and password and then just a backup security pin. So I'll see you guys in just a second. All right, guys, welcome back. So I went ahead and created an account with HostGator. And so the next step is number 4, which is to enter your billing information. And this is pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to put in all of your personal billing information here. And they take credit card and also PayPal. And so I'm going to stick to credit card. I'll see you guys in a minute. I'm going to put in my personal info. All right. So now that I've entered in my personal information, we can go ahead and move on to the next one, which is to do additional services. And so you'll see that we have things like an SSL certificate. We've got professional email, site backup, and things like that. And so what I'm going to do is actually leave every single one of these boxes unchecked because I've got videos on the channel that show you guys how to do everything here for free. And so I show you guys how to set up a Gmail with your website. I show you guys how to do site backups and things like that. So I check out the channel to show you guys how to do it for free rather than being paid, or charged $2 a month here, $6 a month, but it's billed annually. So it's $23 here, $35 there. So you're saving a lot of money. So now that we're done with additional services, let's move on down to 5 and 6, which is to enter a coupon code. And so that is create a pro website is the coupon code. Now, if you guys went to the link in the description, createaprowebsite.com/hosting, this would automatically be placed. But just make sure that this is here because this is the coupon code that's going to give you guys that discount that I mentioned earlier. Now, this is also my affiliate link, so I'm receiving a commission, but at the same time, you guys are getting the discount, and so it's kind of a win-win there. And then lastly, we just have to review our order details. And so we've got things like our domain registration for 1 year went from $17.99 all the way down to $4.99. And so there's your big discount that you guys get with Create a Pro Website as your coupon code. And then you've got the Hatchling plan for 1 month, and that went from $10.95 down to $7.67. And then we've got the hosting add-ons, which that is the $14.95 billed annually for my domain privacy protection. And again, some of you guys might actually uncheck that box, so that won't be here. And then we've got the amount due is $29.10. And so $29 for your first website is pretty cheap. So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to click on agree to the terms of service and cancellation and privacy notice, and then click on checkout now. All right. So now HostGator is currently setting up my account. So I'm just going to give it a second. I'll see you guys when it's done. All right. So it looks like our order is complete and our account has been set up with HostGator. So all you have to do is click on view your dashboard. Perfect. And now I am logged into my HostGator account. So you're going to see your new domain name right here, but as you can see, I've got many of them. and it goes all the way up to 6 packages. So I'll have to click on view more to see mine, but you'll see your new domain name right here. All right, so now that we have our own custom domain name and we've signed up for web hosting, we can move on to step number 2, which is to install WordPress. Now, HostGator makes it really easy with one-click install for WordPress. All you have to do is go to the domain name that you just registered, which obviously mine is not showing up because it's number 6 of all of these. But all you would do is go to the domain name that you just registered, go right over here and click on Install WordPress. That's all you got to do. So you guys click on it right there, and I have to click on View More. And then I go over to my new domain name. I'm going to click on Manage. And now I get to click on Install WordPress. But it's going to take me to the exact same place that it takes you. All right. So now this is what you guys should be seeing on your screen. And so you're seeing that we're installing WordPress, and we can pick a version, of course. And so from here, all you have to do is go down to the bottom and click on Install Now. All right. So don't worry, it looks a bit daunting, but I'm going to walk you guys through all of this. So the first part is software setup. And so you just want to make sure that you're installing WordPress to the correct URL. And so you just want to make sure that it's selected the one that you just created, which is the Lamborghini Austin. I could click on the down arrow and choose from all of the other domain names that I own, but I'm going to stick to this one because, of course, this is what the video is for. So, and then the last part right over here is to choose the version that you want to install. And so it should automatically choose the newest version right here. So 5.8.2 at the time that I'm making this video, but you can see all of the older versions. So just make sure that it's on the newest one. So we'll scroll on down a little bit. The next part is your site settings. And so you've got your site name and the site description. And so what we're setting up right here, let me show you guys. This is what it looks like. So if I type in HostGator and search it, this right here is the site title, and this is the site description. So you've got the site title is in blue, and then the site description is this little paragraph that people get to see, is a little description of your website. And so there's your site title or site name, and then the site description. So this is what we're setting up right now. So kind of imagine what you want to put here. So you might want to do some kind of a little description that explains what your website is about, and then the site name. So the site name for me is going to be Lamborghini Austin CAPW. I think Lamborghinis are cool, so I thought, you know what, why not make a Lamborghini website? So that would be my site name, and so that's what's going to show up in blue. And then the paragraph at the bottom is the site description. And so I'm going to change this to something like, now that's not the perfect site description, but you know, I'm just kind of putting something there because it's an example. So the next part is your admin account right over here on the right-hand side. Now this is really important. You're creating your admin account for your website. So this isn't a HostGator account. This is your website's account. So you're creating like the master profile. So your admin username and password, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a username and password. So I'm going to change the username to my name. But of course, for your website, you'd want to make this whatever username you choose. And then of course you choose your own password. So I'm going to hide this and then type in my own password. All right, so I've got my password and my username. And then we've got the admin email. And so this is the email that you're going to link to your profile for your website. And so I would create a business email, and then I would use that for this. But you can, of course, put whatever email you want here. So I'm going to type in mine. Perfect. So just a heads up, the admin username and password, these are the two things that you're going to use to log into your website to edit it every single time. So make sure you remember your username and password. You could write it down somewhere, or you could use some kind of a password saving software, whatever you guys want to use. You know, everyone can choose, but just make sure you remember this. All right. So we've got our site settings and our admin account done. We can move on to the bottom, which is choose a language and then selecting plugins. So the language, of course, you can choose whatever you need, but I speak English, so I'm just going to choose English. And then selecting plugins, we're actually going to skip over this one. We're going to skip over the advanced options and selecting themes, because I'm going to show you guys how to select plugins and themes in the next few steps. So I want to make sure that you guys know how to do it. This is just to save you time. If you're someone like me who builds websites on a daily basis, then you can kind of use, you know, specific plugins and have them already installed before you even get to your dashboard. So that's kind of a handy step for someone who's like a web designer. But if this is your first time, trust me, we're just going to skip over this and skip over these guys and go straight to the bottom. And I'm going to show you guys how to do all of it in a little bit. So all you have to do is click on install right here. Okay, and now you can see that WordPress is installing to the website, so I am going to give it a minute. All right, everybody, welcome back. So you can see that WordPress has been successfully installed right here. Now, under all of this stuff, it's actually going to give you something really important, and that's the administrative URL right here. Now, this paired with your username and password is what you're going to use to log into your website every single time. So the way that you would log into your website is you're going to take this URL and you're going to open it up on a new tab, and then it's going to bring you to a login screen, and you log in with your username and password. So it's really easy to remember. It's just the domain name that you just registered, so LamborghiniAustinCapW.com or whatever you did, /WP for WordPress -admin, because you're the admin. So all you have to do is just remember WP-admin, which is what I do. I mean, it's pretty easy to remember, but just in case you think you'll forget, you can always, copy and paste this URL right here, and then you can create a Google bookmark, or you can write it down somewhere. But no matter what, just make sure you always remember your administrative URL. So what I'm going to do is actually open this up on a new tab. So let's check out our website. Perfect. So it looks like my website instantly propagated, which is actually new for me. That was pretty fast. If you opened up your administrative URL onto a new tab and it said something like your connection isn't private, or this page doesn't exist, or anything like that, all that means is that your site has to propagate first, and that's perfectly fine. What that means is HostGator is going to take the brand new domain name that you just created, and they're going to send it all the way across the world to every server in the world to let everyone know that that new domain name is live and that it's registered. And so that process can take anywhere from a few minutes to an hour, and sometimes up to an entire day, usually never more than a day. So if you get a tab open and it says, this page doesn't exist, or, this connection isn't private, don't worry. It's okay. It's just propagating, and that's perfectly normal. So for those of you that it automatically propagated and it looks like really fast, it's going to automatically log you into your dashboard because you're logged in to your account here as well. So all you have to do is click on that account or that URL, and it'll bring you into this dashboard. And then also, for those of you who clicked onto this tab and were brought to a login screen, let me show you guys that. So I'll go ahead and log out just by hovering over my name and click on log out. You should have been taken to a page that might have looked like this, which is, again, perfectly fine. Now all you have to do is use your admin username and password that we were doing just a second ago. So I'm going to type in my username and my password and click on login. And again, it's going to take you to this, which is good. So this is actually your WordPress dashboard. So now we have successfully installed it and we're logged in and ready to go. And then also I'm going to close out of these two tabs right here. All right, so now that we have successfully installed WordPress, it's time to move on to step number 3, which is to activate a new theme. We're going to be using our theme to customize our header and footer for the website, so it's kind of important. In order to install a new theme, we're going to go over to the Appearance tab over here on this left-hand side menu, and then from Appearance, I'm just hovering over it, I'm going to go over to Themes. So I'm going to open it up on a new tab. You'll notice I always like to open things up on a new tab. That way I always have a dashboard to go back to. Just a personal preference. So from here, all we have to do is go over to the right-hand side and click on Add New. Now, before I do that, I want to show you guys what the current theme looks like. And if you already clicked on Add New, don't worry. Just watch this part of the video just to kind of see what it looks like. So the current theme that we have that's active right now is the 2021 default theme. And so if I go up to my website name right here, hover over it, I can click on Visit Site. So I'm going to open it up on a new tab. This is what our website looks like right now. It's pretty plain, and the theme is just making it a mint green background with like black text. It doesn't look great. So this is what we're going to be changing right now. The theme changes the overall look of the website. So after I show you guys how to install a new theme, we're going to come back here and I'll show you guys how it looks so different. So let's close out of this guy. And again, to add a new theme, I'm just going to go over here to the Add New Theme button. And the theme that we're going to be using today is called Astra. Now, Astra is right here on the first part of these recommended themes. But if it isn't for you, you can go over to the Search Themes search bar right here and then type in Astra. And then you'll see that Astra is going to be the first one that pops up. I have tried tons and tons of free and premium themes, and I have to say Astra is my favorite by far. It's also used by a lot of different people. So we can go ahead and click on Install right here and then Activate. And just like that, we have activated a new theme. Very simple. So you can check and see that the active theme is Astra. So if I go ahead and go up to the top left corner and open up my website again, you guys can see that it looks completely different. Now it's obviously really far from being done, but this is just, I wanted to show you guys how a theme can affect your website. So we're going to be using the Astra theme to edit the footer, which would be this part down here, and the header, which is this part up here. Everything in the middle is going to be changed up with Elementor, and it's a lot easier to use Elementor, but we'll get to that later. So I'm going to close out of this tab and go back to my dashboard. All right, so now that we've activated our new theme, which is Astra, we can move on to step number 4, which is to install our plugins. So in order to install plugins, we go over here to the left-hand side again, and instead of Appearance, we're going to go to Plugins tab, and then I'm going to click on Add New. So first, let's talk about what a plugin is. A plugin is just downloadable software that you can move onto your website to add different functionalities for your website. So you can think of the Add New right here, the page that we just went to, as like the App Store on your phone. And then all of these different plugins are essentially different apps that you can use. So we're going to be searching for 3 individual apps or plugins. The first one is called Elementor. So we'll go over to the search bar over here and type in Elementor. And this is that super easy to use drag and drop page builder that I was talking about. And so we're going to go ahead and click on Install Now right here, and then click Activate. All right, so that was the first of 3 plugins. So now it's going to automatically take you to a different page, which is our list of installed plugins. And so you can see that Elementor is one of them. So now let's go ahead and download the second one. So I'm going to go back to the Add New button. I'm going to search for Elementor again. And this time, right next to Elementor, you're going to see Essential Add-ons for Elementor. And this is one of my favorite plugins because it adds 40 additional free elements that you can use within Elementor. And we're actually going to be using one of them. So now all you have to do is click on Install Now and Activate. Again, after you click on Activate, it's going to redirect you to a new page. So we'll just go back to the left-hand side, hover over Plugins, and click on Add New one last time. So that was 2 out of 3 plugins. Let's go ahead and install the third plugin. So I'm going to go to Search, and this time I'm going to look for WP Forms. So you can see it's right here. And we're going to take this first one right here. And so it's Contact Form by WP Forms. And so this is how we can install a contact form onto your website. So all you have to do is click on Install and then Activate. But it looks like it's already installed and activated on my website. All right, so now that we've installed and activated all 3 of them, you can go over to the Installed Plugins tab, and you can see down below a list of all the plugins that are currently on your website. So a lot of them are, plugins that come by default with WordPress, and so Jetpack is one of them. You'll see Hello Dolly a lot, the anti-spam one. But the ones that we're looking for are Elementor right here. We've got the Essential Add-ons for Elementor, and we have WP Forms right here. All 3 of them are free and ready to go. Okay, so now that we have the 3 plugins that we're going to need for this tutorial, we can move on to step number 5, which is to practice with Elementor. So there's going to be 2 things that we're going to do in this step. First, we have to create a homepage, and then we're going to practice with Elementor on that homepage. So first, let's create the page. In order to do that, we're going to go over here to the left-hand side, and we're going to go to the Pages tab, hover over it, and go to Add New. Perfect. So it's going to say, Welcome to Block Editor. You can just close out of this guy right here. And what we're going to do is add a title to the page. And so all I'm going to do is call it Homepage. And it's okay because Homepage is not even going to be visible to your viewers anyways. This is just for you. So I'm titling this page Homepage because I'm going to make it the homepage of my website, if that makes sense. So now that we've titled it, there's only one other thing we have to do. We're going to go over to the template, and we're going to change it from default template down to Elementor full width. And what that means is I want Astra to use Elementor, whatever I edit in Elementor, as the full width of the page. I don't want it to be sandwiched in between a specific margin. I want it to be full width of the page. So that's all we have to do there. And now all we have to do is publish the page. And you'll click on Publish twice right there. Perfect. And now you can see that homepage is now live. All right. Now, before we can actually edit it in Elementor, there's one other thing we have to do. So I'm going to close out of this guy real quick. we actually have to tell WordPress to use the page that we just created to set it as the homepage of your website. Because right now, all we did was title it homepage, but WordPress, as a software, still doesn't know which page of all the pages to use as the homepage. So all you have to do to set your homepage is go down to the left-hand side to Settings, and then go down to Reading right here. So I'm going to open it on a new tab. All right, and then from here, we've got the reading settings, and you can change your homepage right here. So from your latest posts, we'll change it to a static page, which means I'm going to select the page, and I'm going to say that my homepage is now the homepage right here, which is the title that I typed in. So if you titled your page something else, then that's what you're going to see, but I titled it homepage. And I did that because that way I know that my homepage is my homepage. I'm saying homepage a lot. Okay. So now I can click on Save Changes. Okay, so what we just did was successfully created a page and then we set it as our home page. So now if I go up here and I click on my Lamborghini Austin right here and I open my website on a new tab, this is what my homepage now looks like. I've got my header and then I've got my footer and nothing in between. And so that's what we're going to use Elementor for. We're going to put everything in between, our entire website in between the header and footer. So now that that's good to go, all we have to do is go back over to the Pages tab, and instead of clicking Add New, I'm just going to go to All of My Pages to show you guys the list of every single page that is currently on your website. So we've got the list here. Homepage is the one that we just created. And then I've got two default pages that comes with WordPress. It's Privacy Policy and Sample Page. You can honestly check both of these boxes like this and delete them because they are empty and completely pointless. They're just default placeholders, essentially. So I'm going to take the bulk actions and change it to Move to Trash. And so everything that is checked, click Apply, is now moved to trash. Done. So now the only page on my website is my homepage. So what we're going to do is click on Edit. So now we're back where we typed in the title, and now I'm going to click on Edit with Elementor. Perfect. And just say got it. So now we are inside of Elementor. This is that super easy to use drag and drop page builder that I was talking about. Now, everything that you need to use to edit your website is going to be over here on the left-hand side. We call all of these widgets. So this is a heading widget, this is an image widget, a text editor widget, and so on, as you can see. And you can also see that Elementor comes with tons and tons and tons of different widgets that you can put on your website. So there's a lot of capability for customization here. So the first thing that I want to do, and this is step number 5, is practice with Elementor. I just want to show you guys how to use Elementor first. So the first thing that you do is you actually have to create a section. So I'm going to go over here to the plus button and click on Add a New Section. Now when it says select your structure, you're basically determining how many columns you want. So this is one column. As you can see, this is divided by 2 columns, 3, 4, 5, so this goes back to 2, but now 1 is small and 1 is big. Basically just the layout. So I'm going to pick this one, just like this. And now as you can see, I've created a section, which is this blue outline, right? All the way around. So that's a section. And then inside of the section, you can see this gray dotted line, and this is what's called a column. And so this column, of course, there's only one of them because I selected the single structure. Now, for instance, if I click on the plus button and say 2, like this, instead of 1, now you'll see that this section, this blue box, has 2 dotted squares in it, versus this one has only 1. And then, of course, so on. So if I add a third one and I say, let's just choose the 4th one, now I've got 4 equal boxes, and so on. Now, you can always hit plus right here, and that's going to add a new blue section in between, so just like this. You can also click on the X button, and that deletes a section. So I can delete all of the sections that I have so far by doing this. This time what I'm going to do is actually right-click because I can't see my blue bar right here, as you can see. So I'm just going to right-click on it and say delete this section. So let's go ahead and add a section again. So I've got my single section like this with my column in the center. So we've got a section, and then sections contain columns. And then inside of a column is where you can put your widgets. And so for instance, I can click on this plus button right here and it's going to open up my widgets again. Or let's just say you haven't done that yet, so you didn't click on the plus button. Another way that you can get to your widgets is you go to this little Rubik's Cube icon right up here. And again, it'll open up all of your widgets. So from here, what I can do is actually add things into my website. And this is the drag and drop part of Elementor. So if I want to add a heading text, I can just click on it and drag it in. And you'll see that blue line appears. That's where I'm placing it. I let go, and now I've got a heading text. I can do the same thing. So I go back to the Rubik's Cube icon, and let's add an image right below it. So I'm going to drag it over, and you'll see the blue line appears below it, or I can place it on top. And so you can see you can place it wherever you want. And so I'm going to put it underneath. And now I've got an image that I can place. And then you can repeat this process by adding whatever you want. You can add videos, buttons, spacers, dividers, and all of that sauce. But what I'm going to do is actually create a simple hero section for you guys. So the way I just deleted that was I right-clicked on the actual widget, and I can say delete. So right now I'm editing this heading widget, and I can just say delete, and it's gone. So we'll click on the plus button again. Let's drag that heading in here, just like this. And now what I'm going to do is add a second heading. So I'm going to go back to the widget and add a second heading. And then I'm going to go over to the widget icon again. I'm going to drop down and add a divider. And then lastly, I'm going to go over to my icon again and add a button. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got our two titles, as well as a divider line, and then a button. And so there's your website. We're done. I'm just kidding. Of course, this looks terrible. So we're going to customize it to look absolutely stunning right now. So the first thing I want to do is add a background to my section. So I'm going to go over here until my blue line is highlighted. So as you can see, if I'm not on it, it's not highlighted. So I'm hovering over the section right now. I'm going to right click and say edit my section. Another way that you can edit a section, if I add another one down here, is you can click on the 6 dots right here, and you'll see that it says edit section right there. And so I click on that, and now I'm editing the section. But because this is my top section, you're not able to actually see that little tab show up. So again, right click and say edit section. From here, I've got 3 tabs. I've got the layout tab, which as it explains is the layout. So I can choose the width, I can choose gap, height, and things like that. And then I can go to the Style tab, which is things like color, backgrounds, borders, shapes, and things like that. And then the Advanced tab, which is where you can play with margins and padding, and that's how you can move things around on your website. So I'm going to go to the Style tab, change the background type to Classic, and under Classic, I can do a color. So I can click on this guy, and I can just choose a color that I want. And then, of course, I can drag this along as well and change whatever color. Or I can reset this. I can also, under Classic, choose an image. So I could click here, and I could upload some files. And then I'm going to upload them from my computer. So I'm going to take all 3 of these guys and upload them. And then I can choose one just like this, or choose that one if you want. And then I can click on Insert. And now you can see the background is this image right here. You can also do a video background, or excuse me, a gradient, and then you could do a video and a slideshow. I'm actually going to do the slideshow. I'm not just going to do one image because I want to do 3. So I'm going to delete this guy and go back over to slideshow. And from here, I can choose 3 different images. So you just click on the button right here. And under my media library, I've got all 3 of my images already installed because I just uploaded them. So I go down to the bottom and click on Create New Gallery. All right. So now I've got my gallery. I can go over here and click on Insert Gallery. And I've got a background that every 5 seconds is going to change to a different image. Just like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually change the height of my section. So let's go back to the Layout tab. And under Height, I can change it to something called Minimum Height. And now I've got a slider where I can drag how tall I want this section to be. So I want it to be something around here, just like this. Okay. Now it's starting to look a little bit more like a website, but we still got a ways to go. So the next thing I want to do is right click out here in the section again and say edit the section. And then from here, what I want to do is go back to the Style tab. And I'm going to add a background overlay onto the images. But the first thing I want to do is actually change up the sizing because you can see how the image is getting cut off right now. So I want to go over here to the background size and choose cover. And what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that no matter what, it's going to perfectly scale the image to be stretched out to the sides as best as it can. And then the next thing I'm going to do is change the background position to center, just like this. Okay, so now that we've messed around with the image sizes, I want to also add a background overlay. So I'm going to click on this guy right here, and then I can choose the type of overlay I want. So I'm going to choose classic. And I'm going to choose a color, so I'm actually going to make it a black color, just like this. And just like that, you can see that I've got this darker shade over the images. It's a background overlay. So I can change the opacity right here, this being no black color, and then this being completely black, where you can't even see the images. And so I can basically darken the images in the background so that my text is easier to read. And so I'm going to go to something like 0.6. I think that looks pretty good. So next, let's start editing our text. The cool thing about Elementor is you can click right here and start editing right here on the page. Or you can click over here on the left-hand side and type in your text here under the Content tab. And so I'm just going to say EST 1992, which for this example, just for practice, I'm going to pretend that we're making a website for a bar or something like that. And so, or maybe a restaurant that has a bar, but I just chose 3 images of drinks in the background. And so I've got my EST 1992 like it's been, around since 1992. And the next thing I'm going to do is click and edit right here, and I can change the text, and I could say something like the best bar in town, or you could say like the best bar in Austin, Texas. And I am on purpose not capitalizing anything because I want to show you guys you can do that later if you want to. So I've got my subtitle and my title. So let's go ahead and customize how they look. So let's do this first one. So I'm going to click on this guy right here and say edit heading. So from here, I can go ahead and change the alignment to center. And so now it's centered in the page. And then what I'm going to do is go over to the Style tab, and I want to change my text color to white. Just like that. Next, I'm going to change up my typography, and this is where you can change things like the size of the font, what font you want to use. So you can click right here and choose your different fonts. I can change the weight and everything else. So I'm going to change the size and make it a little bit smaller, so something like this. And then I'm going to increase the letter spacing a little bit, just like that. I'm going to change the weight to something a lot thinner, so 200. And now you can see the letters are a lot thinner. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it just like this. So next, let's do the same thing to this heading right here. So I'm going to click on it, and you can see I'm editing it now, the best bar in Austin. Or you can right-click and say edit heading. And so now what I'm going to do is center this one as well. I'm going to go over to the Style tab. I'm going to change the color to white. And then I'm going to change the typography here. So I can change the font if I want to. I could do something like Merriweather. So something like this. And then I'm going to change the weight to something like 400. So it's a little bit thinner. The transforming is something I wanted to mention earlier, and this is how you can transform the text from capitalization to lowercase or something like that. So I can click on this and say uppercase, and now all the text is uppercase, or I could say lowercase or capitalize, which capitalize means every word in the sentence is capitalized, which is what I'm going to do. Or you could do normal, which goes back to however you typed it, but I'm going to say capitalize. From here, I'm going to change the letter spacing to be a little bit more increased, and then I'm just going to increase the size. Maybe something a little bit bigger. That might be too big, so let's go a little bit smaller. Something like this. Perfect. Okay, so next, let's go ahead and edit our divider, which it's this black line right here, which is kind of hard to see. So I'm going to right-click and say Edit Divider. I'm going to center it. And then let me go ahead and change the color first. So I'm going to go to the Style tab, just so you guys can see it. So I'm going to change it to white, just like this. So now you should be able to see my line. And now, because I've changed the alignment to center under the Content tab, I can drag the width down and it's going to be centered, rather than if I said left, you'll see that it's going to be based on the left-hand side like this. So I want it centered, a little bit smaller, so something like this. And then I'm going to go back to the Style tab and change the width to be something like 3 or 3.5. There we go. So I've got this big old bar right here in the middle. So that's actually everything. The last thing you can do for a gap is you can actually, for the divider, is you can change the gap. And so that's basically more spacing, but I'm just going to leave it about where it was. So finally, let's edit this button. So I'm going to say edit the button here. And then you can change the text under the content tab. And so I could say book a reservation or book a table. Let's just say that. Book a table, just like this. Okay. And then the link is where the button is going to take them. So this is where you would go ahead and remove that placeholder, and you can see that it's asking you for a URL. So you could say something like, I don't know, whatever website you want. Let's just type in HostGator, just like this. And now whenever you click on this button, it's going to take them to this link. And I'll show you guys that in just a second. We can also change the alignment of the button to be centered. And so now it's right here in the middle. So that looks good. I'm going to go to the Style tab and change the color. So I've got things like typography, text shadow, and all of this stuff, but I'm going to change the color first. So let's go down here to this green color. I'm going to change it to white. And then I want my text color to be black. All right, so it's easy to see. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the typography of my button, and I can change the font of the button. So I'm going to go over here, and I don't mind Roboto, but I am going to change the size a little bit. 13 looks pretty good. Next, I'm going to change the weight to something like 200, maybe 300. Yeah, 300 looks good. I'm going to transform the text to uppercase, and then I'm going to play with the letter spacing. Maybe play with the size a bit. Actually, I kind of like the thicker weight, so I'm going to leave it just like this. Perfect. So once you're finished and you like how your website looks, all you have to do is go down to the bottom corner and click on Update right here. And that's going to update your website with all of the changes you just made. And so now it's live. Anytime you want to preview your work, you can just go over here to the eyeball right here and click on Preview Changes. It's going to open your website up on a new tab, and you can see what it looks like. So now you can see we've got the header up here, the footer down here, and our website is in between. I think just for some quick practice, that looks pretty cool. I mean, we've got these cool backgrounds changing. We've got a button right here, text and everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and close out of this tab again. And the next thing that we're going to do, now that we've put all of our hard work into this section, is delete it. So I'm just going to right click and say delete section. Now, the reason I'm telling you to delete your hard work is because I, off camera, built an entire website template for you guys, and it looks fantastic. And so we're actually just going to import that template to save you guys a whole bunch of work creating the rest of the website. So now that you've deleted it, go ahead and click on Update to save your work just to make sure that it's updated and deleted. Perfect. So now we're ready to import the template, so we can move on to step number 6, which is to import the template. Now this is really simple to do. All we have to do is go to this little gray icon, the little folder icon, click on it, and it's going to open up the Elementor library where we can choose between blocks, pages, and templates. And you guessed it, we're going to go over to My Templates right here. And so you'll notice we don't have any yet, so we're going to go ahead and import it. And the way we do that is we click on this little up arrow over here, and you can see it says Import Template. And then I'm just going to click on Select File. And then I'm going to pull it from my computer. So I've got the .json file right here. And so it's the Create a Pro Website homepage template. So I'm going to click on it and say Open. Okay, so it looks like an error occurred. This has happened to me once or twice before, and that's okay. So if that happens to you, what we can do is actually close out of this, and we'll go over to the dashboard, and there's a second way of importing templates. So that's the first way. The second way would be to go over here to the left-hand side under Templates, and you can go over to Save Templates right here. So I'm going to open this one up on a new tab. All right, and so from here, we're just going to click on Import Templates on the top, and then we choose the exact same file from our computer. So we'll click on this one, CAPW homepage template, and say Open. And then just click on Import Now. Perfect. So that time it worked. I've noticed that every once in a while, sometimes it doesn't work by going to that little up arrow, but now you can see that if I go back to my templates, that the CAPW homepage template is installed. And that was just by going in through Templates over here, going to Save Templates, and then clicking on Import. So just two ways of doing the exact same thing, but I've noticed that this one always works, so I wanted to show you guys both. Okay, so again, let me close out of this guy. If we want to import the template, we go ahead and click on this gray folder icon, go to the My Templates tab, and now that we have the template available and downloaded, or uploaded, we can go ahead and click on Insert right here. It's going to say, do you want to import the document settings? And we're going to say yes. Perfect. And just like that, you have a fully functioning website at your fingertips. Now, like, a couple of you guys are probably thinking, this doesn't look anything like the template that you guys showed at the beginning. And that's right. The reason being is whenever I save this as a template to give to you guys, it doesn't copy over all of the images or the colors. And so that's what I'm going to show you guys how to do right now, is how to do some basic edits to change the colors and then how to put your own images in the background. That way you can take this exact layout and make it your own. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. And that's going to be moving on to step number 7, which is to customize your website. So there's 2 things that I want to do before we even start on this hero section right here. The first is I want to click update just to make sure that I'm saving my work, and now the template is going to be live on my website. Okay, so now my template is live, so if I go over here and preview changes, this is what someone's going to see when they look at my website. So we know it's live and it's good to go. So I'll close out of this tab again. And then the other thing I want you guys to be able to do is change all of these colors at one time. That way you can customize it to the colors that you want. So I'm going to be changing these colors to the same ones as the template that I showed you guys at the beginning of the video. But of course you can change these to whatever you want. Now I want to show you guys how to change the global colors of the website, basically the master color palette, because this will save you time so that you don't have to change, this heading text color and then change the button color and then so on and so on and so on, because that could be a pretty tedious process. I already have it set up for you where everything is set up to specific color palettes, and so you only have to change 1 or 2 things. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll go over here to the top left corner, and we're going to click on this hamburger icon right here. And then from here, we're going to drop down to Site Settings. Perfect. And then you see the global colors right here, and so this is what we're going to be changing. And so I'm going to click on this guy, and you'll see things like primary, secondary, text, accent. You can already tell that this blue color is what's being pulled automatically to change this blue here. There's some blue there. All of the text color. Now this is automatically gray, but that's perfect. You can also see that this green color is getting pulled automatically from this accent color. So we're going to be changing all of these up. You can also, if you want to, add extra colors, and all you have to do is click on add a color, and then you can title it and then change the color right here. And then you can also just delete the color by clicking on the trash can. So let's go ahead and get this done right now. I'm going to click on add color just so I have 5 total. And let me change the text first. So the first one I'm going to do is change this to white. Then I'll say black. And then I'm going to call this Eerie Black. But it's just because that's what the color is called, but it's just a little bit lighter of a black. It's more of like a mix between dark gray and black. And then I'm going to use this one as Platinum. And then this one is going to be red. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to change this to white. So all I have to do is drag this over, and you can see that all of the text that used to be blue is now white. And so this is a really handy way of changing all of these text colors that you need to. So all of these just change to white. All of this just changed to white. So now let's change this black color right here, which is this gray. I'm going to change it to black. Just like that. And so it looks like that changed some of the text color like over here. And then it also changed that text color. So next, let's change this one to Eerie Black, which I already have these color codes saved. So I'm not going to be dragging it like this. I'm actually just going to type it in. All right, so that's my Eerie Black color, which is just a little bit lighter than regular black, as you can see. And so I can scroll up here, and it looks like it darkened this up a little bit. So that's good. The next one is my Platinum color, so I'm going to type that one in. Perfect. And so that's more of like a light gray. All right. And so as you can see, that actually changed this green color right here. And then finally, I'm going to add my red color. Perfect. And so that's my red color right there. And of course, you guys can always pick these colors however you want, but these are just the colors that I chose for this website template. So now that we've finished messing around with our global colors under site settings, we can go down and click on update to save our work. All right, so now we could also click on back to editor, or you can always just click on this X button right here, and it's going to take you back to the main editing site. Okay, so now that we've changed those 2 things, we made sure we saved our work and we changed the global color palette, we can go ahead and start with this hero section right here. So the first thing I want to do is change this background. So I'm going to right click on it and say edit section. And so as long as I'm within this blue square, which is my section, if I right click, I'm going to edit the section. Now, of course, if I want to edit the column, I can just come inside of the gray dotted line, right click, and I would say edit column. So that's just to show you guys that I'm doing, the section. So we're going to edit the section just like this. I'm going to go over to the Style tab, and I can change the images that are selected right here, which obviously there are 0 images. So I'm going to click on the plus button, and now I get to upload some files. So I'm going to go over here to Select Files, and I've actually got all of my images in one folder ready to go. And so I'm just going to upload all of them at the same time, but of course you guys can upload whatever images you want. I'm also going to include all of these images for free, just so you guys can follow along and do it exactly the way I do it, just in case you wanted to do it that way before making it your website. So completely up to you guys. So now that I've got all of them highlighted, I'm just going to say open, and then I'm going to give it a minute to load all of them. All right, and the first thing you'll notice after uploading all of your images is that there's actually a check mark next to all of them, which means that I'm about to use all of these images in the image gallery. And so I actually want to remove all of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and uncheck all of these. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to select the 3 images that I want to use for my hero section. And so I want to use this one first, and then I want this one to come up second, and then I want this one to come up third right here. So once you've chosen the images that you want from your media gallery or media library, you can go over to Create New Gallery right here. All right, and then it's going to show you the 3 different images that you have. And so you can actually drag and drop these to choose the order. So if you actually want this image to be first, you can just drag it and drop it in the front, and then it goes left to right essentially. So actually I want this steering wheel to be first. And so I'm just going to click on Insert Gallery. And now I have this really cool background already set up and ready to go for you guys. But there's a couple of settings that you guys can change just to customize it even further for you guys. So the first thing I want to show you is this cool zoom effect that it's doing, where it's slowly zooming in on these images. Under the Style tab, that is the Ken Burns effect. And so you can turn this on and off. And so if it's off, it's just going to stay stationary like this. But I like having it on, and then you can change the direction of zoom, so in or out. The next thing that you can do is also change the amount of time it takes for these to auto loop. And so you can check right here, you've got the infinite loop settings, so I can make it to where it only loops once and then stops, but I wouldn't see a point for that. You want it to just continually loop. So I left it here. But then we can also change the duration, which is in milliseconds. So you convert that to seconds, it's by the 1,000. So this is 5 seconds, or 5,000 milliseconds. So I can change it from 5 seconds, so it'll stay on this image for 5 seconds, then it switches to the next one for 5 seconds. You guys can make that go up or down. You can change the transition. So right now it's got this really cool fade effect where it just fades from one image to the next like this. And I think that looks really classy, but you guys can always change it to sliding. So, it's like this cool image, and then it's going to slide to the right, just like that. So, of course, you can choose from any of these, but I like the fade. And you can also change the transition duration. So as it's fading, it takes 2 seconds to fade, just like this. But, you can make that take longer or shorter. And then we have the background size, which right now is set to default. I usually always set this one to cover so that it takes up the entire image to the width of the screen. And so you can change that to whatever you want, of course, but cover stretches the image perfectly. So I always use that one. And then the background position is also set to default, but you guys can choose based on what the image is. So right now, most of my images, whatever I want the person to focus on with their eyes is already centered in the image. So this is the front of the Lamborghini, and then this one is the steering wheel. Now, if that steering wheel was way over here on the left, I could say, center left, and so that would take center of the image vertically, and then left-hand side. So that's what that is. So like center left, center right, and all those. But I'm just going to leave it on default. You can also change the background overlay, which is what's darkening these images right now, by clicking on this tab right here. And right now I've got a gradient, and you can change the opacity. So right now it is at 66%. I can make it completely opaque and block out the image, or I can change it to transparent. And then now these images are very bright, but it makes the text hard to read. So that's why I added this dark background overlay like this. But you can see it's a gradient. So it's got like this white in the center and then black all the way around the edges. So I'm going to change this opacity down to about 65, just like this. Perfect. All right, so now that we've finished the background, we can go ahead and start editing the text right here. So I'm going to click on Update to save my work. Now, Elementor makes it really easy for you to change the text on your website. All you have to do is click on it, and you can start typing right there, as you can see. So I'm just going to delete that. Now, this is just an example text that I added to your template, but you can also type right here. So instead of "you deserve better," you could say something like "Lamborghinis," or whatever you want to say. And as you can see, you're typing straight on screen. But I'm going to leave it as "you deserve better." Perfect. You can change the alignment right here. So you can switch it from center, which is what I have it to. You can change it to left alignment. And so inside of your square, it's going to be on the left-hand side. And then you can also change it to the right. So I'm going to leave it on center. Another thing that you can do is you can go over to the Style tab and you can change the typography. So I thought that this cursive text as a one-time feature looks really good and just kind of adds to that classy effect of this just being like a supercar website. But you can, of course, always change it with the typography settings right here. So you've got the text color and typography, and you can change the font right here to whatever you want. And you can change things like size. You can change the weight. You can transform it to uppercase if you want to. You can do whatever you want here. A lot of letter spacing as well. So with our heading font good to go, you can also be editing your button right here. So I'm going to right click on this one and say edit the button. And so now I'm editing it. You can change the text right away. So it says book a test drive, but of course, whatever this button needs to be for your website, you can change it to something like get in contact, or send me an email, or subscribe to my newsletter. Whatever the call to action may be, that's how you can change the text right there on the front. But I'm going to say book a test drive, just like this. You can also change the link text right here. And so this is where you would actually put in your custom URL. So if I delete this guy right here, you'll see that it's asking for a URL. And so this is how you set the button to take them somewhere. You would just put the link right here, and then when they click on it, it takes them to that URL. Now, what I have placed in there right now is this hashtag contact right here. And you'll see that it's automatically pulling from the home page, which is the page that I'm on. And so what that hashtag means is I want it to take them to a specific spot called contact. And I called that spot contact. And so what that is I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom here for the contact page right here. If I edit this section and go over to the advanced tab, you'll see that my CSS ID is called contact. So it's basically going to jump to this section. So if I go up here to the very top and I click on my button, it's going to automatically scroll me down to the contact section. So that's pretty cool. So that's how you can set this button up to jump to different portions of this page. Or you can, of course, just enter in a hyperlink, whatever you guys want to do. So that's how you do the link right there. You can also add an icon to your button if you want to. So you just go to the icon library and you can pick something like this bell and say insert. And now there's going to be a bell. And then I can choose before or after the text. And so now it's on the right-hand side. But I'm going to take it off. Under the Style tab, you can change things like the typography of the button. So I can change the font and the size and the letter spacing. I can change the text color. So right here, I can change this color to white if I want to, but it's already automatically pulling white. And then I can change the actual color of the button. So this is the background, which I have set to transparent completely, but I could click on it and drag it up. And now I've got, a colored button just like this. But I chose to go for that really cool look where it's a transparent background just like this. So you can't see it. And then what I did was I added a border on the bottom. And so you can click on this guy and you can choose a solid line, which is what I have. And that's why you can see a white line down here. But you can also do double or any of these. And then I changed the color to white and I added a little bit of width on the bottom. Because if I link all of these together, then you'll have an actual border. So now you can see it's like all the way around. And so I chose to only have a bottom border, which makes it look like it's underlined, just like this. And of course you can make this thicker if you want to. But I think 1 is appropriate. Perfect. And then from here, you can also go over to the hover style. And so every time I hover over this button, you'll see that it kind of darkens a little bit just to add that effect of, oh, I'm recognizing that the mouse is hovering over me. And so the way that you do that is you just go over to the hover tab right here. And so this is normal. And then anytime you're being hovered over, I can change the text color to a more of a light gray. And so that's why it goes from white to gray, just like that. And then other than that, I didn't touch anything down here. But for instance, if you had a color on your button, so let's just say it's red, just like this, you could go over to the hover color and you can change the background color to be something else. So let's just say like a darker red. And then every time I hover, it goes to that other color. So that's just something for you guys. But I'm going to reset that. And I'm going to make this transparent again. Perfect. So let's go ahead and click on Update to save our work. So I created this template to be very simplistic and ready to go. So all you would have to do is just change your text right here and then change the text on the button as well. And then you're good to go. This button is automatically going to pull them down to the contact form at the very bottom of the website, which we'll be installing right here. So now that our hero section is done and ready to go, let's go ahead and move on to the about section. So right here, I just put some dummy text. So just 58 years of service and then a whole bunch of dummy text. This is where you would put in, of course, the information about your business or about you if you're a freelancer. So again, this is really simple to use. This is just a text editor widget. And so you can click on it right here. and you can edit the text either on screen just by typing, or you can go over here and change the text as well. You can go over to the Style tab, and just like we did for this heading text up here, you can change all of the typography. So you can go over here to typography and change the font, sizing, and everything. Then you can also change the text color. And so right now I have it set to white, but depending on your background image, you might want to choose a different color. And then this is the exact same as this. I just changed the style of it. All right, so now let's go ahead and put in a background image. So we can go up here and click on the 6 dots, which says edit the section. And so now we're editing the section. I'm going to go over to the Style tab and change the background image. So I'm going to click on Choose Image, and then I'm going to choose this one right here and say Insert Media. And it's going to insert my Lamborghini picture back there. So I think that looks pretty good. Again, the position is set to center, but of course, if you want it to focus on the center right, it'll move to the right-hand side of the image, and same thing with center left. Or I could say bottom center, but it looks like this image isn't tall enough to be able to focus on top or bottom, so that's perfect. But I'm going to leave it on center. You can also do something really cool under the attachment right here, and you can change it from fixed to scroll. And so right now the image is not going to move as I scroll through like this, but if you leave it on fixed, which is what my template is already set up for, as you scroll through, that Lamborghini picture is going to be seen from different angles, which is really cool. It looks like it's stuck to the background, like a parallax effect. So I think that's pretty cool. So other than that, you can also change the background overlay. And so right now I just have it set to a black color, which is pulling from the color palette that we set. But of course you can change the color however you want to. So that's how I set up the About section. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section, which is the mission statement. So I'm going to click on Update to save my work. We'll scroll on down here. So for this part, let's go ahead and edit this right here. So all I have is a column with a background image, and then I have a spacer inside of the column. So let me go ahead and show you guys why. If I edit the column by clicking on the gray square right up here, you'll see that now I'm editing the column. I can go over to the Style tab and choose a background image. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to choose the steering wheel as my background image again, and I can come over and I can click on Insert Media. Perfect. So now I've got this background image over here, which is my steering wheel. So the reason I have this spacer in here is because if I remove the spacer, so I'm just going to delete it real quick, you'll see that the image is no longer touching the edges of this column. And so a little secret trick that I use is you just place a spacer in there. It just needs a widget, and then all of a sudden the image squeezes out to the back. So another thing that I did was I edited the spacer and I just increased the space. As you can see, the reason for having a spacer, for instance, is I can go back to the Rubik's Cube icon, and this is just an example. I could put it in between here just to add space. And so I could drag this, and now you'll see that I have space in between there, but I'm gonna go ahead and delete this guy. So I just needed a placeholder essentially so that the image stretches all the way to the edge. Okay, so now that I finished that, I can go over to the right-hand side, and I'm gonna change the text color of this mission button right here. So I'm gonna click on it, go over to the Style tab, and I can change my text color to red, just like this. After that, it's very simple. All you have to do is change the text wherever you want so that it is customized towards your business. So again, you just click on it and you can type straight on screen or edit it over here. So I think that's good to go. The last thing I want to do is just change the button color right here because obviously you can't see it very well. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and say Edit Button. And then I'm going to go over here to the Style tab and I can change the button color. So first let's change the text color to red. And then also the background color, I'm actually going to leave transparent, but I'm going to change my border color, which is that bottom line, to be red. Perfect. So now it is red, and then when they hover over it, it's going to look like it changes the text color to gray. And so you can, of course, change that by going to the Hover tab, and I could change this to, let's change it to my red, and we'll just make it a little bit lighter. So add a little bit of white to it like this, and so now every time they hover over it, it just turns a little lighter. Perfect. So I'm going to say Update to save my work. So now that we finished this mission section, we can scroll on down and edit the Automated Services section. Or this could be any kind of services that you want. Right now I've got these icons set to white color because of the global palette, and so we're going to change these right away. So let's change this color first. I'm going to go ahead and click on the pencil icon right here, and so I'm editing my icon. First I'm going to go to the Style tab just so you can see what I'm editing, and I'm going to change the primary color to red, and the secondary color to white, which is perfect. So now it looks like this. And then it looks like that's all we had to do was just change that primary color to red because the hover color is set perfectly because I want it to use that gray color. So if I go over to the hover color, you'll see that the secondary color changes to gray, which the secondary color is this inside circle. So of course I could change this to whatever I want. And so every time you highlight, but I like it as the gray. So now that we finished editing this icon right here, we can go ahead and right click on it and I can say copy. And then I'm going to paste the color settings that I have on this icon onto these icons. So now all I have to do is right click and say paste the style. And what I just did was I copied the style and pasted it onto this icon. So it's not going to change your icon. So I can do the same thing for the rest of these. So I can just say paste style like this, paste style, paste the style, and paste style. So that'll save you a lot of work when you're trying to customize this yourself. So now all of these icons are good to go. And so every time you hover over them, they have this little animation. So the next thing you would do is actually add a link to this. So if you guys want to, you can right click and say edit the icon. And from here, you can go over to the content tab and you'll see that the link is ready to go. So you can just type in whatever hyperlink you want. And then that's how you have these clickable icons. And so for instance, if I just said hashtag contact, just as an example, because I have this CSS ID set up, now whenever I hover and click on this, it's going to take me straight down to the contact section. So the same thing would apply to whatever URL you place in this bar. Perfect. So now that that's done, I'm going to click on update to save my work. All right, so now that we're done with the icons, we can also change the text just like we did everything else. You just click on it and you can edit it straight on screen. So you can change the different services that you provide. So if you were a photographer, you could say this is portraits, this could be landscape photography, this could be pet photography, you know, that sort of thing. And of course, if you also want to change the icon, let's go ahead and right click and say edit icon. You can go right over here to the content tab, click on the actual icon, and then you can choose from tons and tons of different ones right here. So you could search something like user, for example, because I already know off camera that this is what looks like a person. And so I could change this by clicking insert, and then I could say that this is portrait photography. And then I could find a picture of a, mountain or something and say that that is landscape photography. So you get the idea. You can customize these icons to represent whatever the service may be. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave this one like that. Actually, we can go switch it back. So I'll look for a % and use this one. Perfect. So let's click on update to save our work. The last thing I want to do to this section is change the button text, which there's a button underneath each one of these, but it's obviously white because you can't see it. So I'm going to right click right here and say edit this heading. And it says read more. So let's go over to the style tab and I'm going to change the text color to be red, just like this. All right, so now you're probably wondering, how is this a button if it's actually a heading text? So if I hover over this, you'll see that it's a heading widget, not a text or a button widget. So the way that you do that is you go over to the content tab, and then anytime they click on this guy, it's going to take them to a specific link. So right now I've just got a placeholder in here, but you of course would delete this hashtag and you could paste the URL. So for instance, we could take them to hostgator.com and then click on update. And so if I preview my changes, and we scroll on down to the services section, all they would have to do is click on this button and it's going to take them to hostgator.com. So that's a good example just like that. But I'm going to go ahead and just remove this and place the hashtag again, and then click on update to save my work. And then all we have to do is right click and say copy, and then we can go ahead and paste the style. Don't paste it because it'll just duplicate it. So now there's two widgets here, as you can see. What you want to do is actually go ahead and say paste the style, just like this. So let me delete that one. And I'll go ahead and do it for the rest of these real quick. Paste style. Done. Okay, so now our services section looks good. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next section, which is the departments section. So this would be if your business has multiple departments, like maybe you're a construction company, and so this would be carpenters, this would be plumbers, this would be, electricians or something like that. I included this section. Of course, if you want to and you don't have multiple departments, like you're a freelancer, you can always delete this section right here. Or if you don't like the services section, you could actually delete the services section and then use this as a services section because, there's no end to your creativity. So if you want, you can always just go up here and click on the X button and that would delete this section entirely. But I wanted to include it both just in case you guys need to use it. So the next thing we're going to do is first we can change the text color and icon of this. And so all we have to do is right click on the icon and you can see that you can click on it. I can change the icon right here just like I did before. I can change the first text right here, so quality parts. And then I can change this right here, this is the first option, which you can tell I copy pasted it all the way across, because what you would do is type in a little description. You can also see the style tab and change the primary color, which is the icon color. So we're under the icon. You can also go over to the content and change the color of the text. So this is the title, so quality parts, and I can change the color here. And then you've got the description, and you can change the color here, which I'm going to change to white. I can go ahead and right click and say copy, and then I can go ahead and paste the style all the way across so it changes that bottom text. Paste style, and paste. Next, let's go ahead and add some background images to this so it looks a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Edit Column button right here in the corner, go to the Style tab, and choose my image. So first I'm going to choose the tire image and click on Insert Media. And now you can see I've got this cool tire image in the background. You'll also notice that there's a hover animation whenever I hover my mouse over this column, because you could also make this a clickable icon. And so for instance, if you were to right click on it and say Edit Box, go to the Content tab, you again have a link button right here. So if you set up a hyperlink right here, you would also want a hover animation. And so the way that I did that was go back to edit the column. I can go down to background overlay, and I can go over to the hover tab right here. So under normal, there's already a background overlay that's black, and so that's why the image is darker. But then when I hover over it, you'll notice that the image is also black, but I have it at 0.71 on the opacity. And so again, I could turn it all the way up, and then when I hover, it almost goes completely black, but that doesn't look right, so change it back to 7, just like this. All right, so click on Update to save my work. And let's do the next one. So I'm just going to click on Edit Column, Style tab, and choose my image. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it for the next 3, so I'll see you guys in just a second. Okay, so I went ahead and just went to the column button right here, went to the Style tab, and clicked on Image, and just inserted 3 more images like that. So now you've got this really cool banner section. All right, so next let's move on down to the testimonial section. So let's click on Update to save our work. You'll notice I do that a lot, but I always want to make sure that I'm saving my work constantly throughout the editing process, just so I don't lose any progress. Okay, so now what we can do is, this is just an icon box up on top, this whole thing. And so you can right click on it and say edit the icon box. And the icon box just comes with an icon with a second text and a first text. And so you can see reviews from our happy clients is right here. And so that's how you edit the first one. And then you've got the description right here, which is how you edit the second one right here. And you'll notice that I got the first one to be smaller than the second one. And the way I did that was I just went to the Style tab. And under the Content tab, which is for text, I changed the title typography. So under Title, I went to Typography. And I can change the weight down to something really thin, so just like this. And then I made the size really small, so 15, that kind of thing. And then when you're done, you can go to the description and change that typography. So you click here, and obviously this is a 600 weight, a little bit bigger. You get the idea. So then we can scroll on down, and we've got 2 testimonial widgets, and so it's 1 and 2 right here. So you can quote happy clients after they're done using your services. So you can, of course, click on the widget, and you can edit the text right here. You can also choose an image, so you click right here, and you could say that this is the first person, and say Insert Media. And so John Doe, satisfied customer. You can also change that by changing the name and the title. And so the title could also be a job description if you want to. So you could say John Doe and say something like he's a photographer or something like that. And then you can also change the star rating down here by clicking on it, because it's an individual widget. And so you've got the star rating widget. I can choose how many stars. So it's a rating scale of 1 to 5. You could also go 0 to 10, but I'd leave it on 5. And you can change the rating. So right now I have it set at 4.5, but let's just say that John didn't like it as much and he wanted to rate it a 3. And so you can change it to 3, just like this. But I'll leave it at 4.5. You can also change the unmarked style, so solid versus outline. So now you can see it changed to outline right there. And then you can go to the Style tab and choose the color. So I'll let you guys play around with that. If we do the same thing over here, you can just click on it, of course, edit the text, and then you can also choose an image. And then I'm just going to choose this guy and say Insert Media. So now I've got John Doe number 1 and John Doe number 2. Perfect. But you guys get the idea. This is how you edit your testimonials. Let's go ahead and throw a background in here. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way up to the top out here and say Edit Section. I'll go over to the Style tab, and I can edit my image background. And I'm going to choose this image right here and say Insert Media. Perfect. And just like that, we've got this super cool background of this Lamborghini driving down the road. And I made sure that this entire section was really, really long. And it also looks like it fades to a darker black. And so the way that I did that was under the Style tab, we can close Background and go over to Background Overlay. And I made it a gradient. So the first color versus the second color. So if you want, it looks like the lighter is on top and then the darker is on the bottom. So you can always go over here and choose your darker color. So let's just say black. And so now it fades into a black color, which I like actually even more. So I'm going to keep it like this. And then the top is a lot brighter. You can play around with the location. So how far is white like this? I'm going to leave it back down here. And then you can also change the black and bring it up some, however you want to do it. Just like this. I can scroll on down a little bit more, and you'll see that it also fades all the way into black, which will also fade into my footer later on. So I think that looks really cool. So I'm going to click on Update to save my work so far. So that's the testimonial section. Let's go ahead and move on to the contact section. So we'll scroll on down a little bit more. Okay, so this is the final section. The first thing I want to do is actually make this whole rectangle a bright red color. So I'm going to go over here to the column section, Style tab, and I'm going to change the color to red. Just like this. And so now we've got this red box right here. And so it says, how can we be of assistance? And of course, you guys can set up whatever you want here. And then I also have a button here that if you guys wanted to use, you could have this button set up to take them to a different page. So that's an option. If you guys don't want it here, you can of course just right click and say delete, and it'll remove the button. Or you can also edit the button and change it to something else, like say learn more. And you could have it take them to a separate about page. All right, and you guys already know how to edit text, so let's move on to this image right here. And so again, it's just a spacer. So if I click on it, you'll see that I'm editing a spacer because you can see the blue square all the way in here. And then I can go over to the column and change the actual background image. So we'll go to the Style tab, change the background image. And for this one, I'm going to use this picture of two guys meeting and say Insert Media. Perfect. And then because of that spacer, the image stretches to the edges or the border of this column, so it looks flush with the red box, and I love that. All right, scroll on down a little bit more. We've got your contact information. Again, these are both just heading widgets, so you can just click on it and start editing right on the page. You can go over here, and I've got an icon list. So this is, again, just another widget. You click on it. You can go ahead and type on screen if you want to, or come over here. For your icon list, you've got 3 items. So the first one is a location widget, and so I click on it and you can see you can put in the text right here and choose your icon. So of course I chose a map icon, like a map ping, and then I've got my address typed in. I can click on the second one, which is the phone number, and so again you just type in your phone number and you can choose your icon. And then the third one is email, and again type in the text, choose your icon. Done. You can always add an item by clicking right here, and so now I've got a fourth one, and you can see I've got an icon in text. You can duplicate it. And so now, again, I've got list item, and then you can always delete it by clicking on the X button. So again, you can totally customize this contact section right here to be whatever you want. And so let's just say you have multiple emails with different people's names. You can, of course, do that. You can also set these up to be links. And so if you want to, you can click on it and actually enter in a link. So for instance, let's just say we wanted to have this address, when they click on it, take them to Google Maps with this address already plugged in. You could do that. You just go to Google Maps, type in the address, copy the URL from up top, and then you can just paste it right in here. You could do the same thing with the phone number and then also with email. So if you want, you could click on the email and have a link so that it would create a new email for them. The next thing I want to do is add a little bit of hover animation to this part. So especially if I'm creating a link, I want it to be obvious that they're clicking on it. So the way that I would do that is I can go to the Style tab and close out of this. You'll see that I've got the list settings, the icon settings, and the text settings. So the icon and text settings are what I'm going to change. I can change the color from white, and then when I hover over it, let's change it to red. So now when I hover over any of these, the icon changes red, as you can see. Let's do the same thing for the text. The text color is white, and so when I hover, I want it to be red. So now you can see that all three of these look like links that you can click on. Perfect. So I'm going to click on update to save my work. Okay, so now that this left side is done, let's move over to the right-hand side. So we've got this heading text right here, and then we have the contact form widget. So if you click on this guy, you'll see that it's using WP Forms, which WP Forms, if you remember correctly at the beginning of the video, I had you install an additional plugin called WP Forms. And so that's just a contact form plugin. So essentially what this widget is doing is it's communicating with WP Forms. So let's go ahead and go over to WP Forms and create our contact form. So the way we do that is we go over here to the dashboard. And if you don't already have your dashboard on a new tab like I do, to exit out of Elementor, you can just click on the hamburger icon and say exit to dashboard, and it'll take you to WordPress. But I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and on the left-hand side, go over to WP Forms, and then click on All Forms right here. From here, I'm going to click on Add New to create my new contact form. So I can use a blank form, but I can also use a ton of different templates that are free with WP Forms. So I've got a simple contact form, a newsletter sign up, and so on. To save myself some time, I'm going to use the simple contact form widget, or template, I mean. So first I'm going to enter in the name, which I'm just going to call it my primary contact form because this isn't actually going to be visible. It's just for me on the back end. So I'm going to click on Use My Template right here. And it's automatically going to enter in some widgets for us. So we've got name, email, and comment or message. It also automatically pulled in our title as well. But if you want to change the title, you can just click on it and it'll take you straight to the settings tab under general, and you can edit your name here. Going back to the fields tab, this is where we can add different widgets or fields to our contact form. So for instance, if I wanted a phone number, I can just drag and drop it in. I can click on it and I could change this to phone numbers, just like this. But I actually don't want this one, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So you can add whatever fields you need depending on what your business provides. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and edit this form first, or this widget. I can change the name or the label, but I actually like it as name because I want their first and last name. But instead of having it a format broken in half like this, I just want it to be a full, simple text bar, just like this. Next, what I can do is go to the Advanced tab, and I can actually add a placeholder. And so I just want this to be name, just like this. Next, I'm going to go over to the emails, click on it. I can change the name if I want to, but it's pretty self-explanatory, so I'll leave it. I can go to the Advanced tab, and I can now enter my placeholder text, which is going to be email. Lastly, I can go down to content or comment and message. I'm actually going to remove the comment part, so it's just the message. Go to the Advanced tab and enter in my placeholder text. Perfect. Next, what we can do is go over to the Settings tab, and we can change a couple settings for our form. We can change the Submit button text. So right now it says Submit, but you can have it say whatever you want, like Send. And then you can also change the processing text as well. I'm going to leave it just like this. We can go to the Notifications tab, and you can change all of the email functions. So I've got the Send To email address, which is going to automatically pull your admin email, which the admin email is the email you set up through HostGator when we first started making this website. If you have a separate email, like a business one for your business, you can always enter that in right here. You can also change the email subject line so it can say something else, as well as the from name. Under the Confirmations tab, I can go over here and choose a message or a page, which this would get a little bit more complicated because you have to create an additional page for your website. So I'm going to leave it on message. And so when they click on the Submit button, it says, "Thanks for contacting us. We'll contact you shortly." When you're done making all the changes to your form, you can go up to the top corner and click on Save. Now that we're done, I'm going to click on the X button right here, and I can close out of this tab. So now I'm going to go back into Elementor and refresh the page. Now that we're back in Elementor, I'm just going to go ahead and scroll on down to the Contacts section again and click on my WP Forms widget. From here, it's really simple. All you got to do is click on Select Form and choose the primary contact form that we just built. And voila, you have a contact form built into your website. So that's why I wanted to place that placeholder text into the field so that now it shows up, but then of course I can type in whatever I want and it'll disappear. You also have the Submit button right here. So while we're on the actual widget, we can go over to the Style tab and we can change some of the coloring. Something that I want to point out, the reason at the beginning of the video I had you guys download an additional plugin called Essential Add-ons for Elementor is because it comes with this specific widget. Elementor doesn't come with this on its own. If I go over to the Rubik's Cube icon and search for WP Forms, you'll see that there's two of them. The first one comes automatic with Elementor, but you can't change any of the colors. The second one comes with Essential Add-ons, which you can see the EA right there. And this one we can actually completely customize. So that's why I like to use it. So going back to edit with WP Forms, we can go to the Style tab, and you'll see that I can change the color and style for all of these different things. The only thing that I want to change right now is the Submit button. So I can scroll on down and change the background color to red. And I'm going to leave my text color as white. And then I can also go over to the hover button. And then for the hover animation, I want the background color to be white and my text color to be red. That way they flip, just like this. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to click on Update to save my work. The very last thing that we're going to change on this page is my social icons right here. So I can right click right here and say Edit Social Icons. From here, I can choose the color of these icons as well as the size. So first, go to the Style tab, and you can change the color from official color to custom, just like this. And you can actually choose your color. So I want my primary color to be red and my secondary color to be white. So the logo is white, but the background is red. Now let's go over to the icon hover, and I'm going to change the primary color to white and the secondary color to red. This way they flip, just like my Submit button. So when I hover over each one of these, you can say they flip. The next thing I can do is go over to the Content tab, and I can choose which platforms I use. So I can click on this, and I can change the icon from Facebook to something else, of course. So whichever social you want. So if you want to use Instagram or LinkedIn or any of these, Pinterest. So I can choose the icon, and then from there, I can change my link. And so this is where you would put the URL that links them to your Facebook account. I can do the same thing with Twitter and Instagram. I can also add one and add something else if I want to. So I can choose, instead of WordPress, I could choose my Skype, for instance. And then you'll see Skype shows up on the end. If you ever want to delete one, you just click on the X. You can also go over to the Style tab, and you can change the size. And so if I drag this up, they get a lot bigger, but I honestly like how it looks just like this. So now that I'm done, I'm going to click on Update to save my work. All right, guys, so that is everything for customizing your website. We went from looking completely plain to having all of these really cool images and colors and animations on the website. I think it looks fantastic. So now that we've finished customizing the website, we can move on to step number 8, which is the header and footer. So now that I'm done in here, I can go ahead and close out of Elementor and go back to my dashboard. And then from the dashboard, we'll go over to the left-hand side, hover over the Appearance tab, and then click on Customize. So I'm going to open it up on a new tab. All right, now we are in the Customize tab, which is using the Astra Customizer. So Astra is our theme for the website. So from here, we can go over to the header builder. And you'll see at the very bottom, we've got the 3 different header sections. So you'll see that right now, the only one that's visible is this one because we've got the site and title over here. And then we have the primary menu over here, which obviously doesn't look like much because we haven't set one up yet. So in this step, we're going to be editing the header. I'm going to show you guys how to add your own logo, how to customize the menu over here, and then we're also going to show you how to edit your footer down below, which right now is non-existent. So let's go ahead and start with the logo first. So in order to actually create our own logo, we're going to open up a new tab and go to a website called Logo Maker. All right, and then I'm going to click on Start My Design. All right, so now you can just click out of these guys. Now, a really simple overview of Logo Maker. Over here on the left-hand side, you've got your basic functions like text, basic shapes, and the paint bucket. Over here on the right-hand side, we've got our saturation square with our color wheel. And then we have our opacity right here. And then up here on the top is where you can search from over 3 million different graphics to help you build your own logo. So you could always go up here to the search bar and search something like camera. And then you could find whatever camera you'd want to use. So for this tutorial, I'm actually going to do a car. So let's try a sports car. And then you can see that you have tons and tons of different logos or icons that you can choose from. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one right here. All right, so now I've got my car and I can click and drag it wherever I want. Next, I'm going to go over and add some text. And then I can add something like, but instead I'm actually going to make it all caps. Perfect. All right, so now I can click and drag this wherever I want it, so I'll just move it over here. I'm going to add another text function, so click on it, and I'll add something like, perfect. I can always highlight multiple things at the same time, so I can highlight both of my text functions and then change the color at the same time. All right, so next what I want to do is go ahead and center everything. So I'm going to bring my text underneath the car just like this, and then I will take this text and center it as well. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and shrink down this text, make it a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to click on the style button right here so that I can edit the letter spacing right here. And I want to increase it until it's about the same width as the Lamborghini text, maybe a little bit shorter. Actually, we'll go ahead and almost max it out like this, and then I'll just reduce the size even more. So something like this. You can also use your arrow keys on your keyboard to really fine-tune your placement for whatever you're editing. So right now I'm using my arrow keys to kind of move it around. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and change this car to the same red color that we're using on our website. So in order to do that, I'm actually just going to go back, open my website up on a new tab, and then click on Edit with Elementor. And then I'm going to go over to that hamburger icon and click on Site Settings, Global Colors, and I want to just copy the same exact red color that I'm using for the rest of my website. So I'm just going to click on it here and copy the code, just like this. I can go back over to Logo Maker, and then I can actually paste that code right here. Perfect. So now that's the exact same color that we're using on our website. You can go ahead and close out of this Elementor tab now. All right, so now that I'm back on my logo, I actually think that's pretty good. I've got my car right here, Lamborghini on top, and then Austin dealership. You can also always click on the Lamborghini if you want to, or this main text right here, and you can increase the letter spacing as well, maybe just a little bit, so something like this, just so it's a little bit more spacious. I think that looks pretty good. Whenever you're satisfied with your logo, you can always go over here to the right-hand side and click on Save Logo. Now it's going to ask if you want the high-resolution file, and you actually have to pay for it, but you can say, no thanks, I'll take the low-resolution file for free, right down here at the bottom. And it's going to download straight to your computer for free. So next what I'm going to do is close out of this and come back to my logo. I actually want to change my black text to white. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the whole thing and change it to white. And then I'm going to go to the top corner and click on Save Logo again. And then Download. Perfect. Now the reason we're doing this is because we're about to make a transparent header on our website. And so right now, it's pretty easy to see the black text over this white background, but I'm about to make this transparent so you see my images in the background behind the text. And so when I do that, you won't be able to see this black text over these dark images. That's why I used white text when I was editing the hero section. So what I'm doing is creating two different logos. One has black text and one has white text. And I'll set them to be appropriately used whenever there's a dark background or a white background. So that's why we went ahead and changed it to white. So now what I can do is highlight the text, and I can change it back to black just so I can show you guys. I'm taking the text right here, and I'm just going to delete it, just like this. Because the last thing we're going to do is actually create a site icon as well. And so what a site icon is you'll see up here in the top corner, this little logo right here on the tab. That's called a site icon, or a favicon, depending on who you talk to. And so HostGator has this little gator mascot as theirs, and so that's actually what's by default your site icon. And I'm going to show you guys how to create your own right now. And all you have to do is do the same thing that you did for your logo, but just make sure that you're going with a square. So you want a perfect square. So whether that be 300 by 300 on your resolution or whatever, I'd recommend around that size as well. So you could go over here and choose a square, and then I could put it over here. I can change the square to be in the background by just moving it down over here on the Layers tab. And so now it's in the back. And so I could do something like this, but instead what I want to do is actually do a circle. So I'll do the circle like this. Go to the Style tab, and I'm actually going to do a cutout all the way out to about 97%, I think, just like this. Maybe 95 or 94. Let's go 95. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and move the clip art, which is my car, in front of the circle. I'm going to click on the circle over here on the Layers tab, and that highlights it, and now I can change its color to black or white or red or whatever I want to do. So I'm actually going to copy the color of my car, just like this, and then paste it onto my circle. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to have my car right here. I'll take my circle and center it just like this, and make it a little bit bigger. Maybe a little bit smaller, and then recenter it. Now I actually don't like how it looks like I have a little bit more space up top than I do down below, so I'm just going to move it down a little bit. Perfect. All right, so this is my site icon. I can go up to the top corner and click on Save again, and download the low resolution file. Okay, so now that you've done that, you have your black logo, your white logo, and your site icon. I'm just going to go ahead and close out of this tab for Logo Maker. From here, the first thing I'm going to do is actually make this header transparent. So let's go over here to the header types and see transparent header right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And then I'm going to say enable on the complete website. And I'm going to say yes. Perfect. And now you can see what I was talking about. Now that I have a transparent header, this black text is really hard to see. So it's a good thing that we created a white logo as well. So let's go ahead and click on the back button and actually insert our logos next. So I'm going to go over to site title and logo. First thing I'm going to do is disable my site title. So you can see my site title is right here. If I check this box, it disappears. So now I'm going to replace it with a logo. So here's my logo right here. Click on it. And you can pull from your media library, but we have to upload it first. So I'm going to click on Select Files. And I'll go back to my logo folder. And I have all three. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight all of them and bring them in. Perfect. So I've got all three of my logos ready to go. So let's choose the black one as the original logo. It's going to ask if you want to crop it. I'm just going to say skip cropping. Perfect. Now I've got my logo up here in the top corner. So you'll see that the black one is being used right now because I'm setting it as the default logo. But I want to also tell WordPress to use my white logo if it's on a transparent header. And the way we do that is we can just click on this little link right here to customize the transparent header, just like this. And then you can go down to the bottom and say different logo for the transparent header. And I'm going to say yes. And now I can choose that logo. So I'm just going to click on select image and pull in my white logo right here. Perfect. And just like that, we've got the white logo up there in the top left corner. I think it looks pretty good. Another thing that we can do is we can go scroll down a little bit, and we've got the logo width, which is essentially the logo size. And I can just use this slider to drag, and I can make it the size that I want, which I think this looks pretty good right here. All right, so now that we have inserted our logo, we might as well also put in our site icon as well. So click on the back button and then go back into site title and logo. And then you'll see at the very bottom, site icon. So I'm going to click on this guy, select a site icon, and choose the icon. It's going to ask if you want to crop it, so I'm just going to say skip cropping. And boom, just like that, you can see that my site icon is now up and running. It looks great. So I'm going to click on Publish to save all of that so far. Okay, let me also close out of the downloads thing right down here. So the next thing that I want to show you guys how to do is to edit your menu over here on the right-hand side. And the way that you do that is we're going to click on the back button over here, and we're going to drop all the way down to Menus. So it actually doesn't even have a menu selected right now because we haven't built one yet. So we have to create a new menu. And just for ease of use purposes, I'm just going to title it My Primary Menu. Just like this. And then we get to choose where the location of this menu is going to be used. And so I'm just going to say it's a primary menu because that means it's going to be used up top. So now you can click on Next. All right. So now that we have created the menu name, we can go ahead and start adding items to it. So just click on this plus button right here. And let me close out of this guy. Now you can see we've got a bunch of different things here. If you wanted to add a new page, you could always come over here and click Add, and then you can start setting up links to different pages. But because this website is one page, we don't actually need page links. We're just going to go up here to Custom Links, just like this. Now this is the part where we can create custom links up top on our menu that will take them to different portions of the website. So for instance, I want this section to be the About, just like this. And I want my URL to say #about. Just like this. And so let me show you guys how this is going to work. I'm going to click on Add to Menu and then Publish. So now when they click on the About button, it's not going to take them anywhere because we haven't set up the actual anchor that's going to show to take the website right here. So let me show you guys how to do that right now. We're going to go back to the dashboard. I'm keeping my customizer open on a new tab. So now I'm going to open my website up on a new tab. And I'll move it over here. And then go ahead and click on Edit with Elementor. All right, so what we're doing right now is we're linking that About button to the About section. So let's scroll on down to the About section and edit the section, and then go over to the Advanced tab. And so this CSS ID is basically the anchor point for that hashtag command that I put into the URL button up for the About section. So for the CSS ID, I'm just going to type out About, just like I did up top. So if I go back to here, you'll see that this About is just hashtag About. And so I'm saying go to the anchor point. That's what the hashtag means. Go to the anchor point that's called About. And so now that I set this up with Elementor, I can go ahead and click on Update and Save. And let's go ahead and preview our changes. So now I can go up to the top right and you'll see the About button, click on it, and it takes them straight to the About section. Nice and easy. All right, so now we can close out of this tab. Let's leave Elementor open because we're going to do this for the rest of the website. So first I'm going to go back to the Customizer tab and add the rest of the links. I find it easiest to make your anchor title the exact same as the actual title. And so we're going to do that right now. So let's click on Add Items. And then under Custom Links, we can add, so that's the About section. Let's go ahead and add the Mission Statement section. Oh, I put it in the wrong one. So let's say our mission, and then for the URL, hashtag mission, just like this. So add to menu. And then I have to close out of this so I can scroll down. So let's go down. The next one is the services section. So I'm going to click up here and say hashtag services, and then call it services. Say add to menu. The next one I think is departments. Perfect. So it's got departments and then testimonials. So we'll say hashtag departments. The next one is the testimonial section. And finally, the contact section. Perfect. So once you've added all of these in, we can go ahead and stop adding items and click on Publish to save our work. So as of right now, we have completed the menu, but we still have some customizing to do for coloring and stuff like that. But first, let's go ahead and hook up these buttons. So back in Elementor, we can go section by section. So I want these 6 dots to edit this section, and then go over to the Advanced tab. And then under CSS ID, I can call this one the Mission. We'll scroll on down a little bit more. 6 dots, Advanced tab, and we'll call this one the Services section. Scroll on down more. Click on the 6 dots, Advanced tab, and then we can go to CSS ID and call this one Departments. We'll go down a little bit more. This is the Testimonial section. So click on the 6 dots, Advanced tab, Testimonials. Scroll down a little bit more, and this is our Contact section right here. So click on the 6 dots, Advanced tab, and it looks like I've already got it set up for Contact. So we can now click on Update to save our work, and then click on Preview Changes right next to the Update button. All right, so let's test out our buttons. So I'm going to click on the About section, takes me here. I'm going to click on the Mission section, and then Services, Departments, Testimonials, and the Contact section. Perfect. So all of those jump links will put them to different portions of the website. So it looks good to go. So next what we can do is actually change the colors and everything like that. So let's take care of that. We don't need Elementor anymore, so I'm just going to close out of this tab and out of my site preview. And from here, we can click on the back button and go all the way back to the main menu and click on Header Builder. From here, you can click on the primary menu and then click on the Design button. So from here, we can actually change the text color and background color and things like that. We can also change the font if we want to. So what I'm going to do is change the text color. I want the solid color, while I'm not even hovering over it, to be white. So I'm going to go over here to the left-hand side, and I can change the text color, normal color, to be white. So I'll drag that up like this. And now you'll see that it changed all of them to white. Next, what I want to do is change the hover color, which if I hover over here, you'll see this is the hover color. And I'm going to change that to our red color, which should still be on my clipboard. Yes, it is. And if not, you guys can always go back to Elementor and copy paste that red color that we're using. And then lastly, we've got the active color, which this is only useful for if you have multiple pages. This color would be the active color. So whatever page you're on, it would highlight that menu option just like this, and it would keep it red. And then if I was on the mission page, it would stay red like this. And so it kind of tells your user like what page they're on. So that's kind of cool. But because this is a single page website, I'm not even going to change that one. Perfect. So now you can also go down to menu font if you want to, and you can change the size, the font, and things like that. But I think this is just an appropriate size. So I'm going to click on publish to save my work. All right, so now our header menu is ready to go. So you've got all these buttons here, and they take them to different portions of the website. We've got our logo in here as well, and also the site icon. So I think the header is good to go. Let's go ahead and move on to the footer. So I'm going to click on the back button over here, press it one more time, and we're going to go down to the footer builder. And so it's going to drop us to the very bottom of the website. So you can see that this is the first part of the footer right here, and it's called the copyright. And so we've got this copyright here. You can click on it and actually edit it however you want. So you could say copyright, and this is pulling this short code with the brackets. So it's pulling the current year, and that's why it says 2021 and things like that. So you can, of course, write whatever copyright you want to right here, which I'm just going to leave it like this for now. The one thing I am going to add is a widget on top. So I'm going to click on the plus button right here, and let's just choose widget 1. All right, and now we can click on widget 1, and we'll be able to edit it over here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus button to add a block, and then I'm going to add an image. I'm going to use my media library and choose my white logo, and then click on select. So we can scroll on down, and you can see that my logo is good to go here. The next thing I'm going to do is go over here to the alignment, and I'm going to say I want it to align with the center. So it's going to move my logo over a little bit, so now it's centered with my copyright at the bottom of the website. So that looks good. Now the last thing I want to do is change the color of both of these. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on this little setting tab to change the color of this bar. I'll go over to the design tab and choose my background color instead of white to be black, just like that. I can also change the border color by either clicking on the reset button, or that's not working for me. So basically I'm going to have to change it to non-existent like this because I don't want a border. Perfect. And then what I can also do is change the background of this one. So let's go over and click on the pencil icon right here, and then go to the design tab, and I can change my background color from this gray color to black, just like that. The last thing you can do if you really want to is you can change the text color of the copyright right here. So you can click on the copyright widget. I can go over to the design tab, and then I can change the text color. So let's change it to white. Perfect. I think it looks pretty good. That's a very simple footer menu that you can use. So now I'm going to click on publish. All right, and then we can click on the back button and go back to the main menu. All right, so now that we've finished our header and footer, we can go ahead and move on to step number 9, which is mobile responsiveness. So let's go ahead and close out of the customizer and go back to the dashboard. From here, we're going to go over and open our website up on a new tab, and then we'll open it up with Elementor as well. So mobile responsiveness is just as important as customizing your website for the desktop version, because more than 50% of people are searching the internet now using their smartphones. So you want to make sure that your website looks good on a smaller screen rather than this giant landscape desktop screen. So the way that we do that is we go all the way over here to the bottom left corner, and you'll see responsive mode right here. Click on it. It's going to open this menu up on top. And now we've got the desktop version, we've got the tablet version, and we have the mobile version. So let's play with the mobile version first. So when I click on it, it's going to shrink your entire website down to what would look like a mobile phone screen. Now, when I created this template for you guys, I already did most of the work to make sure that it looks pretty good on the mobile version, but we're going to be making a couple changes. The first being, if you can't tell already, do you guys see the site title keep appearing up here? Well, we have to turn that off for the mobile version as well. So with keeping Elementor open on this tab, we're going to go back to the dashboard, hover over appearance, and then open the customizer up on a new tab like this. From here, we'll go back to the header builder, site title and logo, And you'll see that also Astra has a desktop, tablet, and mobile version down here. So we have to go over to the tablet version and turn off the display site title, and then go to the mobile version and turn off the site title as well. All right, and then now you can see it's actually pulling my correct logo instead of a site title. Another thing we can do is actually edit this little button right over here as well. So if you want, we can click on this pencil icon while hovering over it, and we have the toggle button, which is essentially our navigation menu. And so when you click on this guy, it's going to show you the navigation menu. The way that we can edit this is under the General tab. You can change like what it looks like. So if you want, you can do thicker lines, but I don't really care. I'm going to leave it like this. And then I'm going to go to the Design tab, and I can change the actual color. So this right here, and we can paste our red color in there. Perfect. The last thing we can do is click the back button twice, go down to the Menus tab, and under Primary Menu, we can also choose the Off Canvas menu as well. And what this is going to do is actually set up Astra to use our main menu also on the mobile version. So this is really important. All right, so now we can click on Publish to save our work, and then we can also close out of the tab. So now we're going to use Elementor to check the mobile version and make any adjustments that are necessary. So it looks like the header is already looking just fine. You can always change the size of your font here. So you can click on the pencil icon, go over to the Style tab. And so if you want to, you can change the typography here and choose your size. And so whatever works for you guys, but this one already works for this hero section. Another point that I really want to make is anytime you make certain edits to the mobile version or the tablet version, it will not affect the desktop version. And what I mean by that is there are specific ones. So for instance, when I hover over the size right here, you'll see this little mobile icon, which means that I'm only editing the mobile right now. If I were to change the font, you'll see that this does not have a little cell phone next to it, which means that if I change the font right here, it's also going to change on the desktop version. So anytime you see this little icon, it means you're only changing that specific version. So if you wanted to change the size on your mobile version, it will not affect the size on your desktop version. That being said, I think the hero looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down. You can see that the site title keeps displaying, but that's just because I haven't refreshed the page. So now that I refreshed it, I can go back down to the responsive mode and open up mobile. And now you'll see that the site title is no longer there. Perfect. So let's scroll on down to the About section. I think this looks pretty good. Of course, you can change the size or text anywhere you need to. Scroll on down. Now this is interesting. You'll see that this is all crossed off, and it's because I actually set this up to not be visible on the mobile version. Now the way I did that was I went over here, and I can actually edit the specific widget or the column. You can do it on both, but I did it on the column. Go over to the Advanced tab and drop down to Responsiveness. And you'll see that you can hide it on either the desktop, tablet, or mobile view. And so I only hid it on the mobile view because I think it looks weird when you scroll from the About section to just go straight to a random image and then scroll down further. So I just removed it entirely from the mobile version. Of course, you can turn it back on if you want to by just removing this, and now it's visible on the mobile version. But I'm going to keep it hidden just like this. Click on Update. And you can do this with any part of the website. If there's something that you don't want to be shown on the mobile version, all you have to do is go to the Advanced tab, and under Responsiveness, you can hide it on whatever screen you want. So that's pretty cool. Now I've got my mission statement here. Everything looks like it's spaced and sized correctly, so I think it's good. We can double check the services section, and it looks like that's all good. So now we're in the department section, and so we've got all of our pictures here. And then we come down to the testimonial section. I think everything looks spaced out correctly. And then this is the contact section. Perfect. Only thing is, I'd actually add a little bit of space in between these social icons and this text. And so what I can do is click on the pencil icon. I'm going to go over to the Advanced tab, and you'll see that if I add some padding, it's only affecting the mobile version. So that's good. I'm going to unlink the values, and then I'm just going to increase the bottom. Let's go with 30. I think 30 looks good. And then I'll click on Update. Perfect. So scrolling through, that's my contact form, and that's the bottom. Awesome. I think it looks really good. So of course, as you're going and putting in your different images, you can always make whatever edits you guys have to. And then we also covered like how to hide things on the mobile version. So that's good. All right. So now that we're done with the mobile version, let's go ahead and move over to the tablet version. All right, we'll scroll all the way back up to the top. And so under the tablet view, this is what it would look like if someone was on something like that. I think it looks great. We've got the About section. And then I didn't hide this image on the tablet because now it's side by side, so it actually looks correct, rather than on the phone where there would just be a random giant image. So, and of course, that's completely up to your discretion, but I chose to have it reappear on the tablet version. All right, and then after that, we've got the department section, which it looks really good. And then we have the testimonials, which it doesn't look like it's too close to the side, so that's good. And then we have the contact section. And we don't actually have to make an edit this time because they're side by side rather than top and bottom. Awesome. Okay, so now that we're done editing our website for mobile responsiveness, we can go ahead and move on to step number 10, which is the bonus step that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So let's go ahead and close out of this tab right here and go back to the dashboard. All right, guys, that's it. At this point, you have a fully functioning website at your fingertips. Now we're moving on to step number 10, which is the bonus step. And this is where I tell you guys the next steps on what you can do. And I wanted to mention how to add new pages to your website and how to link them up. So it's a really simple process. Right now, if we open up the website on a new tab, we've got our fully functioning website. So you scroll through an About section, the mission statement, services, and things like that. And then also a contact form at the bottom. But let's say you want an entirely separate page that's an About page, and then you also want like an entirely different page that's separate, that's a contact page, and that it's got a lot more information on how to get in touch with you, your hours, and things like that, and then also a form at the bottom. Well, you can totally do that. And you can also use the site we just built right now and then just add on to it and create new pages. It's a very simple process. So another thing that you can do, I made these icons hover because I wanted you guys to know that you can make these clickable so you can have different services pages as well. And so you could have a sales and marketing page, and then they click on this icon, it'll take them to a different page. So let's go ahead and get into that right now. Back on the dashboard, we can go over to the Pages tab right over here, and I'm just going to open it up on a new tab. Now this is a master list of all of the pages that are on your website. You guys might have a couple other ones like a sample page and then a privacy policy page. Those should both be drafts because they come default stock with WordPress when you download it. So I usually just delete both of those and then create my own pages from here. So that's why you only see one home page. Now, if you want to add pages, all you have to do is click on Add New, just like we did at the very beginning of the website. So you click on Add New just like this, and then you would add a title. So let's just pretend this is an About section, or an About page, I mean. So let's just say About. And then you would go over here again to the template and change it to Elementor full width, and then click on Publish. Perfect. And then from here, you would go up here to Edit with Elementor, and you've got a brand new page to start editing on, just like we did with the home page. And so you guys would follow along with the same steps that we did. You guys could either download a template, so go to the gray area right here, and then you could either, install a template that you guys download, or you can check out the pages that Elementor's library has. And so they've got tons and tons of pages that you can use. And so again, you would just install the template, which some of these you can see are pro, but some of them are going to be the free version. But you would take one of these free pages, and then you would just change up the colors to match up the other side, throw in your own images, and now you've got an About page. So let's close out of this guy. So now you guys know how to add a page and then how to start editing it with Elementor, just like we did the homepage. But now, how are people going to get to this page? That's the next question. So we'll close out of this tab. So back on our website, if we scroll all the way up to the top, these are all jump links that take them to different portions of this page. So how do we add another button that takes them to different pages? Well, it's really simple. We can go back over here to the Customize tab, open it up on a new tab, and then we can drop down to the Menus tab, click on our primary menu, and now we can link that other About page to our header menu up here. So now while we're editing the primary menu, we can click on Add Items. And of course, you could always remove this About button. So now it wouldn't take them just down to the bottom. We could delete it, and then we could create a page link. So instead of custom links, we would just go to Pages. And you'll see that it lists out all the pages that I have on my website. And so here's the About page. Click on it, automatically adds it. So now I can drag and drop it all the way up here at the top, just like this. And now I've got my About button right here. Pretty simple. You can also click on it if you want to, and then you can change what it actually says up here. So you could say About Us, for instance, and now it says About Us. So let's click on Publish to save our work. I can go back to my website preview and refresh the page. Perfect. So now it says About Us. I click on it, and it's going to take them to a completely different page on your website. So you still got your menu up here, and then we've got the footer slammed up against it because it's transparent. But in between is where all of your page content would be. So this is how you add a page here. And then lastly, what I wanted to show you guys how to do is we can close out of this tab and let's edit with Elementor on a new tab. And then also on this preview, I'm just going to click on the logo to go back to my home page. The last thing I wanted to show you guys is you can actually edit, oh, wrong page. So this is that fake about page. So let's open this one up with Elementor, the home page. From here, all you would have to do is scroll on down to whatever you want to link to that page. So whether it be these icons, or you could have this button go to the About page. So I'll do both. You would just right click and say edit the button. And then under the link, you can hit the backspace to delete that hashtag and type out About. And you'll see that it's called the About page, and it's actually a page. So Elementor is pulling your page information from WordPress. Click on this. It's automatically going to put in the hyperlink for you. And it's easy as that. So now we just click on Update. Same thing for these icons. You can right click and say edit the icon. Go over to the link tab right here. Type in About. And then you've got, so all the pages, as you can see, but I'm going to click on the About page. And let's just say Update to save. And then I'm going to go ahead and close out of Elementor. So let's refresh this page. And then if I scroll on down, I could click on this button right here, and it'll take me to the About page. Or I could click on this button, this icon right here, and it will also take me to that page. Perfect. So that is how you link up different buttons and pages to your website. And so this is how you could have a giant multi-page website. All right, so now that we've finished step number 10, which is just basically how to add more pages to your website, let's go ahead and do one final site review because, man, this site looks awesome. I'm going to open it up on a new tab. So we've got the hero section right here, really cool text with the button as well. Scrolling on down, we've got the About section, mission statement, all of these services, which each one of these icons could be a button that takes them to a different page, just like this one. The department section, which again, all of these are icons. And so you could just right click on it and set up a link and send them to different pages, just like this. And then we have our testimonial section as well as our contact section. So if you haven't already started your site, go ahead and click on the link in the top left corner to claim your own custom domain name today and to download the free template in the description. And if you're looking for a step-by-step tutorial on how to add more pages to your website that you just built, you can click on this video in the top right corner. I'll see you guys in the next video.